Welcome, hunters, and thank you for tuning in to the official Monster Hunter subreddit podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Monster Hunter subreddit podcast. I'm your host, Fortwan, and we also have Pax Rayamis with us, who we refer to as Rayamis, right?
Yeah, Rayamis.
Rayamis, okay.
Pax is kind of an old hack name. It's on my Reddit tag, but I don't prefer it any longer.
Okay. And then we have Raytheon25, to pronounce it correctly.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, well, we'll just start out with the introductions. I'll go first. So, again, I am Fortwan. I've been playing Monster Hunter since 2004 when my friend convinced me to buy a PS2 network adapter and the game, so I sunk my every bit of Christmas money on basically a bet, and it worked out.
Those network adapters are kind of a pain.
Yeah.
Back when.
Yeah, I got to play all of like 5 minutes before we left for a trip to Georgia, which is really far from where I'm at. So it was like, holy crap, that was awesome. Okay, I gotta go. And then I just thought about it for like the 2 whole weeks I was gone.
Do you ever have any problems with your network adapter? Because when I was a kid and I had the network adapter, it was like I had so many problems with it. So, but maybe I was just a kid.
Not that I remember, honestly. My dad was, he was a programmer himself, and we always had like the best internet we could for where we lived. So I had dial-up like as soon as it was commercially available. So
it's really nice.
Yeah.
The situation here, so.
Yep. And then I joined Reddit almost 7 years ago now. I worked at a really crappy job where I could play on my computer. It was like a help desk support. And I immediately started going to the Monster Hunter sub because I was so happy that existed. Because I've always felt kind of alone in my passion for
it. That must have been right when it started.
Maybe, yeah. I do remember some of the oldest formats.
Yeah. Do you remember roughly how many people were on the sub when you hopped on?
I want to say it was under 5,000. I'm not sure.
In the early days.
Yeah.
Good old early days.
And I had an account, but I still mostly lurked because, I don't know, I didn't have a lot of say at that time. I really kicked it up just about 6 months before I came on as a mod. And that was almost 5 years ago now. It says 4 on my profile, but I think it'll be 5 this calendar year. So it's kind of my history with the sub and everything else. And I try to do a lot of community stuff like this for the sub. Just, we've not been super into doing that for a long time. So and then last thing, just to introduce myself, my top 3 monsters are Diablos, and even though I joke and say Plesiath, it's actually Ignactor and then Duramboros.
Okay, you got any reason behind any of that?
Diablos was because no one wanted to do the dual horns back in the original Monster Hunter, and it became this like super cool monster that I never really got to fight because no one wanted to do it. So
yeah,
I like the design.
I really enjoyed the Diablos fight.
Yeah, it's a fun fight. It's better than it was. You guys want to talk about broken mechanics? That hitbox was awful.
Yeah, it was.
I always loved how easy it was to chain CC together on him.
Yeah.
Like, come into the fight, he digs Sonic Bomb, Flash Bomb, and then I have like a friend who was on a paralyzed Sword and Shield, and he would just like paralyze it, and the paralyze lasts for like a day and a half. It was
Yeah.
like chain.
I actually started out in my very first character as a heavy bow gunner, just because all my friends were blade masters, and the fight was like super easy for me because I could see him charging from like a mile away, and I would just like walk. Um, but it was hard for them, so they never wanted to fight him. I ended up losing that character and became a great sword user.
Oh man, talking about losing characters, that's
I lost my
I'll
generation save.
on that, and when I talk about my personal history with Monster Hunter, but I've taken some damage, some serious damage to my hours logged and then lost.
Yeah, I think I had well over 150 hours that first time I lost one. When I lost my save in Generations here, I was like halfway through G rank, and not G rank. They don't have G rank. Halfway through the final stars in the quest logs online, and I did everything solo. So I was like so happy that I was like, yeah, I made it my own as a solo hunter, and then I lost my save, and I was like, I can't even try again.
So painful. I totally understand. Like, it's one of those games that like once you have so many hours in, the pain of restarting is not worth it, and you're just like, I'll wait for the next one.
Yeah.
I'll just wait.
So explanation for the second monster is Agnactor. I've always loved this sort of ecology of the monsters. If you guys remember those old cutscenes, I like lived for those. Like,
Oh my gosh,
Plesioth
yes.
one, which is why I really do like Plesioth, because that sort of crocodile hunter cutscene that they had in the original one. It was just like he comes out of the water and just grabs that Aptonoth and just drags it under. It was so cool.
Man, you're making me want to go back and watch those. It's been a minute since I've seen those.
I watch them pretty often.
You got a file on your desktop. You're just like, you go take a peek at those when you're feeling.
YouTube. They got a compilation or something I go look at. But the reason why I like Agnactor's ecology is he can't ignite his own flame. He has to use that teeth clacking, and I always thought that was so cool. And like when he first does it, he can't control it, so it's like a fire hose. He just like psh, and just goes everywhere. I just like it.
I literally never even thought of that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I think they actually explain that, but I think it's visually told very, very well. So
yeah, now that you mention it, I can totally see it.
Yeah, I love it. And then Duramboros, I was a hammer bro forever. We were like from Freedom 2 to 3 Ultimate, and every game in between I was a solo hammer user. And to finally be able to take off a tail, it was just so good.
Yeah, that's relatable.
Yep. But now I'm a filthy charge blade user, so I guess I can't help it. Guard pointing is so fun. So, yeah, that's it for me. I'll just leave it to you, Ramus. So.
All right, cool. Yeah, my Reddit tag is Pax Rayam, like I said before, and but I prefer to go by Rayamus. The origin of my name was initially Rayam, which is kind of an anagram of my last name, and that being was Pax is Latin for peace, and in high school we had a little a little clan going on, and at first it was just like me and some of my closer friends, and then it really got out of hand, and like all these people that I barely even knew were saying Pax this, Pax that, and I was like, okay, I don't want to be associated with this anymore. So I tried to go with just Rayam, and somebody kept taking the name, and I was like, what the heck? How can somebody keep taking the name? Finally, one day, I realized Rayam is just too short. Like 95% of the names out there need to be 6 characters. So I just added an IS to the end because I thought it sounded like a cool name.
Yeah, forward one's never taken.
Yes, I'm real particular. Like if you like not taking a shot at you, Raytheon, or anything like that, but if you got numbers in your name, I feel that they should be significant.
Yeah, I'll
That
explain mine shortly.
yeah, of course. But I can't stand like when people like Dr. Poop Butt 69 or something like that. I'm like, how could you even bear to tell someone your name? Yeah. Why don't you add me on PS4? I'm Dr. Poop Butt 69. So my Monster Hunter personal history, Monster Hunter is like a super near and dear game to me. I remember looking in the back of a Game Informer and seeing that like iconic, the Agito greatsword with the Rathalos like peering down at the hunter, and it was so sweet looking. Back from the first game for the PlayStation 2, and I was reading the description and it said like carve monster parts to place them on your weapon and stuff, and I was like, I want that dragon's eyeball and that hole on that sword. And I
Sounds
was
like
I was
Soul
set,
Calibur.
yeah, I was all about it. It looked so freaking cool in my mind. And then like the next day or maybe a week later, whatever, not important. We were at Perkins and my parents got me the book, like the what do you call it? Like
The strategy guide?
yes, strategy guide. Thank you.
Okay.
And I was poring over the weapons in there. Just look at all these weapons. And then they ended up getting me the game, and I didn't even like realize at first how hard it was, because I just played it and I stopped because it was so hard. And then once I started understanding the nuances of it, it absolutely got out of hand. I've bought every single system it has been on to play it.
Same.
To play. What was it? Frontier, I would think.
Oh, I never played Frontier.
Yeah, Frontier and then Unite, and then like the amount, like I said before, the data I lost is just astronomical. I've lost data on almost every single one I've ever played, and then to go from the PSP, I bought the Wii just to play it, and then I bought the Wii U just to play it. Me and 3 of my friends went to GameStop just to buy 3 Wii U's and 3 copies of Monster Hunter.
Whew.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of like it's been an obsession, but
I am a Nintendo fan normally, so I normally got a Nintendo regardless of Monster Hunter. I was just glad that Monster came to it, but I do own 4 different PSPs thanks to Monster Hunter and 2 3DSs. So
yep, I totally understand. And the amount of times like I can think back, and you mentioned you didn't have very many people to play with, right?
yeah, I've almost always been a solo hunter.
Oh man, I'm so sorry for you. I was like the initiator of getting it into my friend group, but it really exploded in my friend group with some of my closer friends. I had probably like 4 friends that played pretty heavily, so I always had like a little crew.
Nice.
But with all the data loss, like no joke, on the PSP, I had probably, I would say, 250 to 300 hours, and a kid came over, a friend of my brother's, and he deleted my profile. On accident. He was like a little kid. Oh my gosh.
So furious, man.
Oh, so bad. And then the next game, I started playing. I think this was Freedom 2. I started playing with my friends, and then my PSP broke, and it was broke for like a year and a half, and I didn't even fully know why.
Yeah, I didn't like the PSP. It always felt really janky. I don't know.
Yeah, you remember doing the claw?
Oh yeah.
You guys remember? Absolutely, that's like Monster Hunter 101.
I
You get that like
Needed.
Well, I don't see. I ended up not using the claw as much once I figured out you could center the camera behind you with just by tapping L. So
yeah.
even to this day, I don't use the camera controls. I just tap L. Like I know how to turn, tap.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
center.
anymore I do that for sure. But especially with the lock-on system nowadays, it's so nice.
I don't use it. Never have.
I use it. It is really helpful.
Yeah, but
It's not a
that
elitism thing. I just don't like it.
because it totally throws you off. Like for an example, on like a Gyp Zeros or something like that, when they do that like fake dying thing and you lose the lock on them. Like I've died because I go to do one thing and fuck up the camera, and then next thing I know, I'm getting wombo comboed and I'm dead.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back just for a second when you talked about how your friends all play it. it actually started for me because of my friends. So, like I mentioned, they kind of dared me to get it, but my friend actually had like a PS2 beta, and it was like, "Oh, 420, you gotta like this." I was like, "No, I'm not. That looks like stupid anime. I hate that," and I ended up loving it.
Yeah, it's a unique gaming experience. It really is. Yeah. Okay, so joining Reddit, I actually joined Reddit itself like back in my first shot at college in 2000. What would have been late 2011 probably.
Okay.
And then I would say maybe what had been probably about 4 years now, maybe 3 years since I became a moderator for the subreddit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, we can edit this out or whatever, but I didn't know if we wanted to talk about that, the moderatorship.
Just the fact that we're mods. I don't really think we need to go into detail.
Yeah, it's gonna be more important just not to distinguish posts about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I just
I
wanted
think we'll probably put it on the sidebar, but
Okay. Yeah, I definitely Lax is like totally on that, so maybe at the very least we could run it by him for he's got some kind of crazy history.
Yeah.
With a crazy, like, he straight up was like, as soon as he started making posts and stuff as a mod, I was like, holy shit, this guy's like, he's know what's up.
Yeah, he's serious.
I'm glad to have him on my side.
Him
Yeah.
and Shady, both of them.
those are good hires.
I think Pax, Ray Amos, you and I were brought on for the same reason, to like the CSS stuff. We ended up
Well, I wasn't CSS. I had,
That was cool.
I think I just got it at a good time. Yeah,
Oh,
Quentin's the CSS. I came on because I was one of those people that just asked about, maybe becoming a mod, but I had ideas that we could try.
Mhm.
Every one of those ideas flopped, but
Oh, same here.
I was like,
It's the
we
thought
could
that
do
counts.
this, and then it just kind of like fell through, but I mean, I felt guilty about that, but
I mean, I'll
but-
go into my topic later as to why I wanted to do this podcast, but it's
Yeah.
kind of along those
All right.
lines.
All right, cool. So that's pretty much that. And then I joined actually. I got my moderatorship for the subreddit when it was around like 10,000 or 12,000 people, and I remember being like, "Oh yeah, we're like moving up in the world. We got like 12,000," and then like
Heck yeah.
generations dropped, and no, I think For You was the first one that dropped after I got it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So it was like
Generations
4
feels
you
too
dropped,
recent.
and then we hit like 20,000. It was like, whoa, we got 20,000, and then Generation dropped, and we got like 50,000, and it's like, it
Oh,
just
yeah.
like it spiked so hard. But I like to think that our population correlates with its popularity. That would like within the Western world a little bit maybe.
I think so. I think to some degree, for sure, it seems to have. It kind of correlates with how popular it is in the West.
Yes, we are very Western focused sub, even though we include all.
Yeah, we are. So then I guess my top 3 monsters, I didn't actually put much thought into this until right before, and then I was like, oh shit, what are my top 3 monsters? A first one that comes to mind is the Fatalist, partially because it was like that god tier monster in the first one, and I never ever fought it until pretty recently, I think back in 4U maybe. It's just such a dragon. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Literally what I think of when I think of a dragon. It's so badass.
Yeah, I think unofficially there's a differentiation between dragons and wyverns, and
Yeah.
it's that dragons have front legs in addition to wings.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
they call Fatalist a dragon in the game. The same with, I think, Lao Shan Lung and a few other monsters. I think maybe Kushala Deora.
Yeah. But then
Not
there's
wyverns
also
exactly.
the distinction of like elder dragons, and I don't know where that stands anymore, but I remember back when the Kirin was considered an elder dragon.
It still is.
There's wings. You just gotta look closely.
Oh yeah.
It's like little vestigial wings, tiny little things.
little Pegasus.
It's a
Yeah.
pegacorn. It's got a.
Admittedly, that'd be way cooler than just a plain old
Yeah,
Kirin.
Yeah,
Is
the
it
Kirin's like a
pegacorn?
souped up Kelby.
Yeah, we used to call it the Kelby drone because it moved like a Kelby.
That's
I
so
remember
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Fatalist is my first, and then I probably have to go with the Raytheon for a second. It is like my favorite fight. I love it. I feel like an absolute in control the entire time. Like I'm just wrecking.
She wrecks me.
Really?
She's the one I dies to the most in the history of Monster Hunter.
I am absolutely a monster against the Raytheon. I love it. And the Rathalos kind of falls in there too, probably because I've been literally fighting them since the first game, and I just feel like they're so iconic to the series. So iconic.
They are. That's why we saw them in the Monster World trailer.
Yeah. Yep. Always. They're always there. If they weren't there, it would be like I don't even know. It just wouldn't be the same.
Cool.
And then maybe a final one. Man, there's so many anymore. I probably maybe have to go with Lao Shanlong just because I just remember the fight so fondly as a kid. Yeah, that's probably my top 3.
All right.
I'm real dragony. But yeah. So Raytheon, all you, man.
Sure. So, like we said in the beginning, I am Raytheon 25. I guess I'll go ahead and explain kind of where the name came from. It's a little awkward being so involved with the Monster Hunter community, and yet my name is Raytheon 25, and a lot of people misspell it, or they'll assume it's associated with Monster Hunter without even knowing that it's from something else. And so the story behind it is back in 2003, which was the year before Monster Hunter came out.
Yeah.
I played Fire Emblem for the Game Boy Advance. It was the year.
I didn't even know it existed then.
Yeah, 2003 was the year Fire Emblem for the GBA came out, and I remember it being new and shiny, and I picked it up, and it was awesome. And in that game was a character named Wrath, R-A-T-H. He was a badass. He like rode a horse. He's got a spear. He's wrecking shit, and I'm like, he's so cool. And I must have been like 12 or something.
Okay. And
he was super cool. And so from there, I kind of adopted the name Wraith, R-A-I-T-H, and it was because of that character Wrath. And it's coincidence that kind of turns back around that it's now getting confused with Rathian and Rathalos. It's like Wrath to Wraith, and over time that turned into Raytheon. I just added an I-A-N at the end, probably because same as Rayamis, 5 letters is too short for most websites and video games. And so it became Raytheon, and then from there, Raytheon was always taken. That was a name that was always taken on Xbox Live. It's one of the first names. It was gone. A PSN, it's gone. So I added 25 because I was born on the 25th of the month, and so that's that number. Yeah, and so
as long as that has significance to you. And
so I needed something, but I didn't want to change the spelling. I didn't want to change the spelling, add a Y or take out an I or anything like that. So I just added 25. And so even now, things like the Blizzard launcher, your BattleNet name, you don't need to add numbers because your official name in their system has numbers kind of added to the end, but your
you do a pound
can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I still put the 25 in there. It's kind of at this point just it's been my name for going on 15 years. Is what it is.
That's pretty cool.
My backup has the number 16 because I was born on the 16th. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's unrelated to Monster Hunter because I kind of adopted it before Monster Hunter even came out, and so now it's just awkward and confusing.
Yeah.
You're the Raytheon prophet.
Exactly, and I even pronounced the monster in the game Raytheon.
Yeah.
And so it's just double confusing because I know it's also pronounced Rathian.
That's a whole nother can of worms, I think, is pronunciations. I have been trying to unthread that ball of yarn for a long time.
Well, rumor has it Monster Hunter World's finally going to clear that up based on the presence of voice acting. Yeah.
So did you guys all see that leak?
I did not. Isn't there a 22-minute video out there?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
It sounds like it'll be cool, but at the same time, I kind of just want to shut her up because she sounds like a tutorial, and that's what she is, at least in that video. And it's like, yeah, I've been playing this for 13 years. Just be quiet.
I pray that they have a something that you can skip that stuff, because the beginning has always been like cancer. It's so bad.
It's always been the exact same. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do. I tell you. You have to tell people that every time you get into the game, you're like, okay, it's an amazing game, but the beginning, like 20 hours, suck.
Oh yeah, and when
20
you tell
hours.
people that, they're like,
Well, I mean,
what?
that's like around then you're like, you got to get a set of armor, and then you got to go through all the gathering quests, and like all the go kill 10 Jaggy, go tickle some Velociprey or something.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Monster Hunter
pretty rough.
friendly mode.
Really?
So yeah, I
it's
guess when World comes out, we might finally find out some of these pronunciations, and a
Yeah,
bunch
maybe.
of fans are gonna
Called
get
the-
alienated.
I called the Plesioth or Plesioth or however you do pronounce it. I called it what did I call it? Plesioth.
Oh,
Plesioth for years, and then I looked at it one day. I was like, that's not even like remotely close.
I call it Plesieth just because of a plesiosaurus, and
Oh yeah.
like the ancient reptile.
That
And
makes
it's
it
like-
makes sense. It's fitting.
Yeah, cool.
So my personal history of Monster Hunter, it starts out kind of funny. Back when it came out in 04, I think I saw it on X Play or something on G4 TV. So I didn't really have the internet. I just had like TV
Okay.
at the time. And I picked up Monster Hunter and a game, I think it was called Blood Will Tell. It was like some crazy samurai/ninja game where you played this character who didn't have any body parts. It was strange. But I walked into Monster Hunter knowing nothing but what was on the front and back cover. And as a 12 or 13-year-old, you can probably imagine the difficulty of a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I played a little bit. You know, I was making some weapons, and I made this weapon that was much more powerful than my last one, and it turned out to be a great sword, slow as shit. So that was awkward. And then I ended up stopping playing. I stopped playing it because I did the Wyvern Egg quest, where you have to go pick up a Wyvern Egg and run it back to base while the freaking Rathian chases you down, and that was terrifying. I was terrified.
I remember.
And it was so stressful that I stopped playing it for a while.
Yeah,
Not only was the Rathian or Rathian terrible about that, but the freaking Vespoid, all those little suckers just hovering at you. Oh man.
Yeah, before you knew about Feline Lander and Strong Cat and all these other.
Yep, but exactly.
So I put the game down for a little while, and I picked it back up because I had some friends who were like, I moved away from them, and to keep in touch, we picked up this game that we could play together online. And at that point, the PS2 Slim was out, and so to go back to that conversation about network adapters, it had it built in, and I never had.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So I couldn't.
I
Really
ended up
contribute
getting a
to that
Slim
conversation.
because my disc reader died on the original PS2.
Yeah. So yeah,
a giant brick of a system.
Yeah, I think it was huge. It was
Yeah,
a
it
cheap
was.
DVD player though. I remember when it came out, like DVD players were really expensive, but you could buy a PS2 and had it all.
Isn't that how Sony
Yeah.
sells their stuff? I mean,
But, I mean,
DVD player,
probably a
cheap
pretty big
Blu-ray.
selling point.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I picked up Monster Hunter, put it down, picked it up again, and haven't put it down since.
Awesome.
So it's been great. And I guess since then I've played every Monster Hunter that's been released in the West, and like you, Rayamis, I've purchased a system for it every single time. You know, the Wii U, the 3DS, Wii, couple PSPs. Because I worked at a video game store in high school, and I would pick up PSPs from my buddies on a discount, and I would buy one for myself and then like sell it to my friend for cheap a little bit later, and then I buy another one for myself when it came out and repeat. So yeah, I played them all at this point. So joining Reddit,
Okay.
Generations, I picked it up. So I'm in law school right now.
Yeah.
Oh dang.
And before this, I was in graduate school getting my master's in engineering. And so Generations came out when I did not have time to play it. And so I think I had only put maybe 24 hours into it. But recently, and as recent as only 2 weeks ago, I picked it back up, and I think I'm up to like 40 hours.
Wow.
I'm going to go play it after this. So,
Yeah.
So, is the story of you starting the sub part of your main topic?
yeah, I
Okay.
guess I'll just say for now, I've been on the subreddit since minute 0, having
Since you
created
hit
it.
enter.
And so, exactly. So, but we'll talk more in detail about creating the sub and what that means a little bit later.
Sure. I did want to ask you guys something. So, like you, I played every game that's come out to the West, but have you guys ever imported any?
I have not.
I haven't either because for the longest time, particularly since for the 3DS, I think the PSP too, also, they've all been region locked.
Yes.
And I was never willing to buy a whole nother console just to import a game I couldn't read. It was just never quite worth it for me.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I
the
hacked my
PSP was.
PSP. At one point, I hacked my PSP and played Portable Third.
So what I did is I bought Freedom 2. What was it called? 2G. Bought it. I bought this crazy battery that sent it into boot mode, and I put in the English patch, and I did that for like myself and my brother. So I played a good 250 hours in 2G, and then Freedom Unite came out, and I did it all over again. And then Portable Third, I did not import the PSP version, but I imported the PS3 upgrade, and I played that entirely in Japanese. But I didn't get very far. I think I only beat Amatsu, so basically ended a village. And
I've never even fought one of those. There's so many monsters at this point that I've never fought. And like at one point I've known all of them, and then it's just like ridiculous anymore.
If we don't get Double Cross, the Rocket Wyvern thing.
Oh yeah, that thing looks pretty cool.
That'll be, to my knowledge, the only thing I haven't fought and defeated.
Nice.
So. Yeah, I plan on importing Double Cross if it doesn't get localized.
Same here. I'll just play it in Japanese. Sorry to interrupt there. I just wanted to do that before.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Go ahead.
So I guess top 3 monsters. For me, the first one's going to be Rathalos. Super boring, I know. But
it's a good one.
It's because back on the PS2, I have pretty fond memories of hunting the Rathalos in the swamp. I had this group, and one of them was great at headlocking. You remember headlocking?
Oh my gosh!
I just thought that's what you were going with. As soon as you said the swamp, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. We would do tail runs looking for plates.
Yeah.
And so we went out there, and one guy would headlock that thing, and it would knock it out. And we would cut the tail off. Everyone would carve it. You pull up the keyboard because you got your keyboard, and people are, nope, yep, and then now you have to kill it. Yeah. And so I have pretty fond memories of hunting it over and over and over and over and over.
That's awesome.
And I guess
really
real quick, for those listeners who don't know what headlocking is, because I'm sure we have plenty of people who are newer to the series.
For sure.
Back on the original Monster Hunter, a skilled lance user whose lance was up to par with the difficulty of the quest could poke Rathalos and some other monsters in the face repeatedly and time it just right with your back hops that you would stagger the monster over and over and over, and it would never move. Mm-hmm. And very skilled people who are really great at doing this could do this continuously without fail, and you could kill the monster outright without it moving an inch.
Yep.
I'm ashamed to say I was good at it.
Yeah,
it was literally broken.
Yeah, it was very broken, but at the same time, I don't really remember people exploiting it a whole lot. But it was like, because lancing at the time, like I never got good at it. I think you being a lance user wasn't necessarily that popular, and so
my brother was a main lancer. I think he still is. He doesn't play as much, but yeah.
My closest friend's pretty good at it.
I'm pretty excited to talk about when I get to my topic, favorite weapons and stuff. I can kind of have a nice discussion about that. Yeah, that's usually the first thing I try to get out of someone getting them into the game. I'm like, so what's your favorite weapon?
What do you like to destroy with?
Exactly.
So my second monster would be the Kirin. As much as it's fun to joke about it being the Kelbydrome, I also have fond memories of hunting that over and over to make that goofy looking outfit where the male armor looked like a 80s rock star with a horn.
Yep.
Like very little clothing. It was great. Like myself and my best friend would hunt it just over and over, and we looked identical, and we were proud of it. So I have really great memories of hunting it.
Do you remember when it used to be an event quest only, and it was like this mythical thing? People would be like, "What is this?"
I do remember. I remember I don't remember if we could track event quests in some way, but I think I remember tracking them, and it was like I would tell them, I'm like, dude, Kieran's coming up next week. You got to be free so we could hunt it down. Yeah, I remember that was the dark days. for sure.
Dark days of PS2 and attacking with the right stick.
Yep. That's another thing new players will never have to experience.
I miss
I didn't. That was like the best thing about the PSP. I can press buttons?
Yeah, I don't remember disliking using the thumbstick, but I can't imagine doing it now.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, I can agree with that statement. Because I used to, back in those days, I used a greatsword. So it was literally...
Oh yeah, me too.
That was it.
Yeah, and I guess for our listeners who haven't played the original Monster Hunter, the default controls that I'm not sure you could change.
I don't believe you could.
Nope.
You would wield your weapon using the right thumbstick, and pressing up on the thumbstick was akin to pressing, X on the 3DS?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, 3DS, I'm thinking PS4
I think it is.
controllers.
And then tilting the thumbstick to the left would be like pressing Y on the 3DS, and then tilting the thumbstick...
Or the right. It was left or right.
Okay. And then tilting the thumbstick down was your XA attack.
Yep.
So for those of you who think that sounds ridiculous, you're right. That's why it's never happened again.
Oh man, I remember. Remember how the original trailer showed someone using a greatsword with the overhead chop and hitting a Rathalos out of the sky?
Oh yeah.
I remember I did that once, and I was like, I felt like the best person ever to play Monster Hunter.
Have you seen that video, the Gotcha Bitch video?
Gotcha, bitch!
Yeah.
I have not.
That's what that reminds me of. So yeah, it's a video. Maybe we can link it on the post when this gets posted. But there's this guy who made this video, and I don't know where the soundbite comes from, but what he would do is he would charge up his greatsword and using his overhead attack, just slam it down onto just every monster in the game and kill it in that last hit. I can't imagine how long it took to do all these hunts and time it just right. But every time he did it, the soundbite would come on that's like, "Gotcha, bitch!"
Yep.
And then
It's awesome.
that overhead shot would kill the monster or knock it out of the sky or just something spectacular.
Yeah. This game is absolutely notorious for being like cinematic level badassery.
Yeah.
Like how many times have you had a fight where you're just like, "Oh my god, that was so awesome."
Yeah, especially now that you can like mount monsters jumping
Oh
on
my
from
gosh.
above and knocking them out of the sky. It's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
Rayamis, you said you haven't seen that demo, the leaked demo yet, but
I haven't.
it looked like towards the end of the demo when they started showing the co-op play, it looked like one of the players leapt down onto where the Rathalos and the new monster, what was it? I forgot what it's called. It starts with an N.
It's Aganath.
The T-Rex,
or
I think.
Aganath. That's it.
Aganath. There you go.
Eventually, I'll know it forever. But they're both fighting at the same time, and then the hunter jumps down from above and lands on the Rathalos while it's flying, and it flies away with the monster on its back, or with the hunter on its back.
Yep.
And I can only imagine the
nuts.
badassery where you're like stabbing a Rathalos in midair, you know? Oh,
I must free my people.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so my third monster, Fortuan, you said it earlier, is Lao Shan Lung.
Yes.
Maybe it was Rayamis.
It was Rayamis.
Yeah. Lao Shan Lung, and the reason I like it, I think it's because I dreaded it. It was just the longest fight, and you never guaranteed to actually finish it until you were really geared up. But that first time, it's like your gear isn't quite up to par, and you're struggling to make the barrel bombs, and so you're putting everything together. But it was still very memorable, and it felt like more a race against the clock. It was, I don't know, it was just a lot of fun.
It was definitely the first real gear check.
Yeah. Well, okay. First real gear check was definitely the Rathalos for me. The very first time I killed the Rathalos in the original Forest and Hills, I remember it vividly.
Yeah, I guess you could be right about that.
And bringing pitfall traps, bombs, potions of every kind, stocking up to the T with the freaking the Great Serpent Blade with 624 damage and a chunk of green.
Yeah, back when green was the best.
Yeah. Those are the days.
Sharp equals green. That's what it used to be.
Yeah, it was just like late game was like, look at the size of this green chunk.
Now it's like part of blunt force now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
The damage multiplier is just 1.
Yep. Hardcore Monster Hunter right there. You want to go ahead and move on to your topic, Raytheon? Or
Sure. So,
Okay.
I guess now we're each going to kind of have a topic to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And for mine, of course, as a guest for this episode, is going to be the creation of the subreddit.
Yep.
A little bit of the history and kind of how it's grown since then. So I created the subreddit in May of 2010. I remember that was my freshman year, the tail end of my freshman year of college. At my university, the freshman dorms were 2 to a room, and so I lived in the same room as my closest friend in the whole world, who's going to be the best man at my wedding next year. We've been friends for forever at this point.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also, my forever hunting partner. We've got hundreds and hundreds of hours together in these games, and so we lived together, and we had PSPs at the time. We were playing, I think, Freedom Unite the most, and we would play it every night. We would play it, in between classes and stuff. We just played it so much. And this was also around the time that I really got into Reddit. I had known about Reddit in high school, but I never really used it. And so add Reddit and this obsession with Monster Hunter together, I went searching for a Monster Hunter subreddit, and there wasn't one by the name of Monster Hunter. There wasn't one, MH or MHFU for Freedom Unite at the time. I think there is now. There wasn't anything, and I'm like, this is absurd. And I did everything I could to try and find it before making it, because I was like, I could totally make this right now, and there wasn't one, and so I made it. r/monsterhunter was born, and there was one user, that was me. There was 0 posts. There was nothing. It was completely empty. There was no theme or anything, and so I spent some time trying to get the colors right. Like I downloaded a JPEG of the original PS2 game cover and did the little eye droplet to get the right brown, stuff like that.
I remember
I did some
working with that brown.
Yeah, and I did some crappy Photoshop with the Rathalos that stood on top of the original Monster Hunter logo.
Yes.
And that was our first little icon in the top left.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And I did that myself, and that was it. And I think within maybe a couple weeks we had like 10 users. And I was super excited. I tell you, I upvoted every single post in the subreddit for like 2 months. I was like, I'm so excited you're all here. Thank you.
I can share my love.
Exactly. And it was so much fun. And my roommate never really took on to it as much as I did. He's like, you're a weird dude. But it was awesome, and it's really exciting now. I'm looking at it. We're at almost 75,000 subscribers, which it's astounding to me. But it has been 7 years now, and so
that's a pretty good growth rate.
Yeah, it's like almost 10,000 a year. But like you were saying, Ramos, it kind of exploded in popularity with the more recent releases.
I like to think and hope that with the actual drop of worlds, or potentially Double Cross, I think it is going to explode again.
I think this time next year we might be in the 100,000 range, because I think
that would be pretty nuts.
Yeah, even since the announcement of Monster Hunter World, it's gone up a few thousand.
Yeah, because we have both Sony and Microsoft players coming to us, and now PC.
And PC, PC in the West, which I don't think we've had any Monster Hunter on the PC in the West unless you're willing to deal with either Chinese or Japanese.
Yeah, so I tried. I couldn't.
Yeah, I tried Monster Hunter Online with the Team HD English patch, and it was very well done. But then the developer, I forgot who the developer was. It was the Chinese developer. So it wasn't Capcom. It was a different developer.
Yeah, I don't remember, but you're right.
I don't remember either. But they changed something about the way the engine ran, and it broke Team HD's patch, and they went on sort of like an indefinite hiatus. Not so much like we're taking a step back, but more like there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
And so then I put it down at that point, but
game over, man.
It's fun while it lasted.
Over.
Yeah, and so 7 years ago it started up, and we've been through every major release since then. I think starting with Try. I think Try was the first game that came out after the subreddit was created, and so it's been a lot of fun. I think some of my most favorite moments have been we had a contest, I think a few years ago at this point, for the subreddit redesign. We had a redesign
oh my gosh, I remember.
Yeah, where we had users submit their redesigns of the subreddit aesthetics, the CSS, and the winner her name was Uber Chimichanga, and she had her own subreddit, like test subreddit, where she created these things. And so the current upvote animation that goes So Tasty was
yep.
And the winner of that contest won a copy of I think it was 3 Ultimate, but it could have been 4 Ultimate. I don't know how long ago was.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun, like that interaction with the community. We had tons of submissions and tons of really great work, and we let the community decide, and that Uber Chimichanga won. So
Yeah,
That was a really good time.
I think just to sort of piggyback off of this thing for you, I think my favorite moment is it's not a single moment. It's every time that Yuri messages us.
I was going to bring that up too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, Senpai noticed us, even though I hate that.
Yeah.
But
so
whatever.
for the listeners who don't know, Yuri is I think his name is Yuri Arajo.
Yeah.
And I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He's the community manager, I think, for the West. So when you go to the Facebook or to Capcom Unity, he's always the guy who's answering questions. He's the community manager. It's who he is. His username is Dubindo, which I'm also probably pronouncing wrong.
Yeah.
And he's been such a great resource for us because he reached out to us, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
And offered to help as a community manager, but never once did he try and control how we did anything.
Right.
The subreddit still very much remained ours to manage and to manage. And he was just like, if there's anything I can do, let me know. And it's been great.
I don't know if you noticed, but did you watch the stream where him and the other community manager, the European one, were talking to the developers?
I did not.
So he actually was asking questions based on when he contacted us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he didn't like say, hey, the Monster Hunter sub said this, but he was saying, like, at least the stuff I was asking. Like, because we were like, holy crap, the sky's falling. Can you just give us as much information as you can so we could just calm things down? And he basically addressed that and said, hey, this is all we know for now. That'll reassure you guys that it's the same Monster Hunter, which I think was my exact wording for that. I can't be sure that exactly that's what he was doing, but I felt like it was. So...
yeah, the most recent interaction.
Falling there for a little bit, though.
Oh
Holy.
Goodness. The subreddit was a little wild.
It was insane.
Yeah.
I was telling
think
all
it's
the
unavoidable to
life,
not talk about that.
Yeah.
We went from like a report every like 2 to 3 days or something like that to like thousands in a day.
Yeah. Yep.
It was insane.
That's how you know the subreddit's big. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little proud.
Yeah, dude, you should be. You should be. It's really great. We got a good thing going here with the subreddit.
Yep.
Yeah. The most recent interaction with Yuri that I really like is, I'm sure you both remember, it was like last week. We reached out to try and get some promotional photos for the subreddit so we can spruce up our aesthetics. And so if this podcast comes out before that's done, just keep an eye out because we're working on some new aesthetics with some sweet new promotional photos from Monster Hunter World. Should be very exciting.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And I think that's all I have about the subreddit and its creation and its history. I've been here since day one, and so there's a lot of history.
Yeah.
When this comes out, if listeners have any questions or anything, feel free to post them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer, honestly and promptly and all that jazz. Yep.
So I'll just say it here. I think we talked about this before, but so the listeners know, maybe a weird place to put this, but whatever. We're going to be posting this on SoundCloud, but because of the upload restrictions, we're only going to be doing one episode at a time on SoundCloud. So I'm going to have a Google Drive of all the past episodes, and I'm going to include that every time we post it. Be like, hey, if you missed them, here they are.
Perfect.
Do you want to go next, Fortune? I figured, leading into the community questions, I figured my topic was more streamlined to go from, like, yours is kind of more sub-related and mine is more game-related, moving on.
Sure. So my topic is, why do we have a Monster Hunter podcast for Reddit? I watch a lot of podcasts, from the Cool Optional podcast with Total Biscuit, Dodger, Jesse Cox, to Easy Allies, Kind of Funny Games, trying to think, Game Explain. A lot of them are variety channels, and of course I've always followed Gaijin Hunter and more Monster Hunter related guys. Another one, Pro Jared, he's a big Monster Hunter fan. He's one of the few.
I loved his reaction video to World.
Yeah, his was great. And then you have like a lot of variety channels that sort of pick up Monster Hunter and are like, yeah, it was fun, but yeah, whatever. I wanted to do something from our community because even though there are good people out there who do Monster Hunter content, like Gaijin Hunter and Arquez and all those really great guys. There's not really a lot of in-depth discussion around those topics like the other podcasters. So something that really brought this to my attention was just how much people did not know what Monster Hunter was this E3, and it was a big announcement. So if you watched any of Easy Ally's stuff, they talked about, oh, well, this was announced in the PlayStation thing, and it was kind of boring and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but guys, Monster Hunter, that's like a huge deal.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the 9 people on that podcast is a fan. So he was like, no, we got to talk about this. So
Yeah.
they actually have a good discussion on it.
That guy's the best host
Ben? Yeah.
of all 9. Yeah, he's the best one. Whoever he is, he's the best one.
Yeah, absolutely. Monster Hunter fans are like a breed of their own. If you love Monster Hunter, you're going to let people know.
It's like we
It's
look
either-
each other across the
yeah,
street,
two
lock
options.
eyes, and you're like, you hunt? Yeah.
Yeah. You either
Yeah.
like really love it or
Sure.
have never heard of it. And
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to start this because I don't feel like our community specifically has really an outlet to sort of talk about this stuff and go over these. I mean, stuff like last week, we kind of just had to like talk amongst ourselves and like that kind of stuff. And just
We've tried different formats over the years. We've tried like the stupid questions threads and
Yep.
a
and
lot
things.
of those still exist. Yeah, but it
I
ends
still
up being
run the community
sort of
ones, yeah.
yeah. It ends up being a really different from a podcast. The subreddit is very community driven. It wouldn't exist without the community.
Yeah.
The mods really do just moderate. I don't think we do much content creation.
Yeah, and I wanted
And a
to
lot of
change
sure.
that. I wanted
Yeah, and
to
a lot of other
have a
people do
voice.
tons of content creation in the form of streaming or videos, but to my knowledge, you're right, there isn't really a great audio content for
Yeah.
just casual discussion like this. So
Yep, and nothing long form, which I don't know. If people are interested in long form, great. I'll be happy if 10 people listen to this, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
just-
having a good time either way, so.
Yeah, and it sounds kind of corny, but what we went through last week felt like, like I mentioned this, it felt like going through World War I trenches,
Yeah.
like Dunkirk.
Literally.
Yeah, and I
So
was like,
true.
I got to know the rest of the mods so well, and I've tried to do that a little bit, but Reddit's not really a good place, especially
Yeah.
in the moderation space, to really connect with people. And
Yeah. We're like taking shifts. We're like, all right, guys,
yeah, yep.
hours, take a breather.
Oh man, I was on the Monster Hunter sub more than ever last week.
Yeah, really.
Watching
You're like-
new.
We're like we're each getting like worked up over some post. Somebody said like this guy's saying mean things about me, and I'm just trying to do my best.
I just love them so much, but they hate me.
that was
Yeah.
me, I think. I came into our Discord and I'm like, why is everyone so mad at us?
Yeah, I don't.
What's going
Yeah.
on?
Well, so
Yeah.
I guess because we're already talking about it, when that news hit Monday night, I mean, it's going to get a little personal here. I've been going through a rough time. My grandfather is essentially dying, and the first
Sorry.
time I visited him was Monday night, and I decided not to watch the PlayStation conference because of that. And I was just sort of sitting there, like, reflecting on everything. And I got a text from a friend of mine who likes Monster Hunter, but he's not a huge fan. And they all know I'm a mod on the sub, but they're not Redditors. So he texted me. He's like, I do not believe what I'm seeing right now. Look at this. And I was like, I mean, I really don't feel like it, man. And he's like, no, seriously, look at it. And I looked, and I had 3 immediate reactions to that trailer. Where the crap is that barbecue song, first of all?
Wah, wah, wah,
Major omission.
Oh, yeah.
wah, wah, wah.
Second of all was, wow, this looks really cool. Oh no, it's not on the Switch. And third reaction is, I'm going to hate life on the sub right now.
Yeah.
And I immediately went on, and you guys probably saw it. I just immediately went to the message the mods. I was like, guys, I'm here. What do you need me to do?
Yep.
Yeah. As soon as that Discord came up, who made that Discord, by the way? Lax?
I'm
I think it was
pretty sure
Lax.
Lax. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he
that-
had
that was
Shady in, and then the rest of us.
Valuable. That was so good.
I want
Yep.
to take a really quick minute before we continue. For the listeners, you may have noticed that the three of us are moderators on the subreddit, but this podcast is unaffiliated with our moderatorship.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Just
don't
kind of
expect.
spawned out of the
yeah.
trenches.
Yeah, so we're making this, especially Fortuan and Rayamis, who should be relatively frequent on the podcast. I think I'm only going to be a visitor here and there.
Mhm.
This podcast really is going to be created, for fans by fans, not
Absolutely.
by moderators.
Yep.
Um,
Even though we are moderators, we are not going to be sticking this or, like deleting dissenting opinions or anything like that. This is strictly just content so that,
Exactly.
we as a community can communicate.
It's
But I also wanted
Yeah,
to take a really quick
support
moment,
this.
as a mod and as a creator, to thank the other mods. You two, Lax, Shady, and Quentin for everything you guys have done for the subreddit. I certainly couldn't have done it alone. I tried for a little while, but there was only 10 users. I didn't need a lot of help. But
I
all
think
you
we
guys have
banned
been
twice that this
fantastic.
week.
Yeah, exactly. All you guys have been fantastic, and so it's been a lot of fun recently. So
I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Yeah, thanks. I was so happy when I became a mod. I was like, I'm a mod? I told
I'm to
everybody.
random people on the street.
now
Like,
you're like, how does this work? And the mod tools
I don't know if you've heard of Reddit, but I'm a moderator.
I told my grandma.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So,
People just don't understand how important it is.
Yeah.
So,
It feels good. So do we want to move on to the next topic? Or?
yeah, that was basically all I had to say is, like, I feel like we don't get enough love out there in this sort of the YouTube and podcast space, and I just want to be part of that. I wanted to
For
do
sure.
something for the community, and I like doing this kind of
Podcast.
stuff too, so.
Yeah, I'm really glad you came up with this idea. It's my first experience with the podcast, and I didn't really basically know what they were. Like, I'd heard of them and stuff, but I never had one or listened to one or whatever.
Yeah.
So-
Did you enjoy the Sincast that I sent you?
Yeah, I listened to it for a while. I didn't get through the whole thing because it was like 2 hours long, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it was interesting, and it really gave me a good idea of like it's just some people talking about something they like, and
Mhm.
and other people enjoy listening to that conversation. I can understand why.
Yep. So I guess we'll move on.
Topic for the day, I wanted to talk about favorite weapons because anytime that I get people into the game, I'm like, okay, you need to go try every single weapon and tell me which one's your favorite and why.
Mhm.
And I think, coming from the humble beginnings, there's like 7 weapons in the beginning, something like that, 9. I can't quite remember.
Let me think about that.
Like-
So there was a great sword, there was the sword and shield, there was the hammer, there was the 2 bow guns, and lance.
Dual swords.
Dual swords wasn't added until G.
Dual swords
It was
was
added a little bit later, yeah.
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
It
Yeah.
wasn't on the original PS2. So 6, and then G added dual swords.
What about longsword? Did that come later?
That was also later. If you remember, the Eager Cleaver used to be a great sword.
Yep, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wait a
So
minute, wait.
the
You guys are on right now. Dual
what?
swords weren't a thing in Monster Hunter 1.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. I think
think
it
so
came
either.
in G on the Monster Hunter Freedom, which was our equivalent of G.
Okay, so I need to just wrap this back a little bit. I'm on Game Facts right now for Monster Hunter PlayStation 2,
Yeah.
and I'm going to the facts. Under facts, we have Dual Swords Guide. It's Dual Swords. I know it was a thing.
Okay.
I'm so sure of it.
I don't remember it being a thing, but okay.
Because I remember seeing footage of people fighting the Fatalists, and they all had different elemental ones. Each person.
I just
can-
remember
in the-
everyone saying you had to gun Fatalis. Is that at least how I say it? But yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
I don't know, but either way, it was finding out the best weapon that people choose. Like, I don't want to say it says something about them, but I just love to know what people enjoy and why. And so I would pose that question to you guys. What are your guys' your main weapons? Like your number one. You can only choose one.
Raytheon, how about you go?
Oh God, just one, huh?
Just one.
I think I've put the most time into Greatsword.
Okay.
And I think without Greatsword, you're missing a lot. I think the cover of almost every Monster Hunter has had a hunter with a Greatsword on his back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think for that reason, it's very much sort of like how the Rathalos is like the quintessential monster. He's been the poster boy since day one, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in a similar way, I think the Greatsword is sort of the poster weapon.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's really, really easy to use, but there is a challenge in mastering it, knowing when to use it and how to use it effectively. But it's got 3 moves, 4 if you add in that little tap after an overcut.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one.
I know that this is not a popular opinion because it was too popular. So the Charge Blade is my favorite weapon right now. I wasn't a fan of the Switch Axe when it came. I was like, this is just weird anime bullcrap again. I just don't like it. And then the Charge Blade was like, that sounds like the same stuff. Like, it just looks stupid. And then I saw the guide to guard pointing from Gaijin Hunter, and I was like, you can attack and block basically at the same time, and it hurts them to block. I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I can just go ham. If you're
Sounds
good.
awesome.
Yeah, so I taught myself how to guard point, and I didn't do it on like Tigrex or Diablos or anything. I taught myself to do it on, I think it was Silverlos. Like, I was like,
I don't even know what guard pointing is.
So there is a certain animation when your shield ends in front of you, so you can attack, and then your shield, just the animation of the shield is in front of you. That counts as a block, even though it's on a rest from an attack. So you have to recover animation, but you're still guarding, and it never takes red damage, if I'm right. And if your shield is charged up, as in you took all those vials and spent it onto the shield, it actually does a blowback of the element of the weapon. So, and it also does stun damage, or KO, sorry. So you can actually like make the monster kill itself by hitting you. Takes a long time,
awesome.
But
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's a thing that I saw, and I was like, I can't not be a part of this. This is amazing. So I'm not the best at it, but it is really fun when you're doing it right. So you're like, attack, and then like they knock themselves on you, and you just switch into axe mode and just go full ham on their head. And it's just, I don't know. It was like everything I wanted to be, because it was like, it's a high skill cap, but at the same time, it's like really powerful. So that's what I like.
I don't have much experience with that weapon, or any of the switching style weapons, like the less traditional weapons, if you will. I personally have been a hammer bro since I think picked it up on there, and no matter how many times I try to steer away from the hammer, I always end up back on it. It's just, I absolutely love CC and knocking a monster out. I feel like I've gotten good to the point where I can, like, all those high skill cap things that can come with the hammer, like the perfectly timed full slams when a monster's turning right onto the face, or full baseball golf swings. You do the full spin and clock a monster right in the chin while he's charging at you.
And then you knock him out, and it's the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, it is. It feels so good. And I can, a good portion of the time when I've been playing heavily, I can call the knockouts like within a hit or two of when it is. I'm like, all right, here comes the knockout, and the monster's turn, and just slam it, and my friends all move into position ahead of time, trusting that it's coming.
Nice. I was actually a hammer bro for a long time, so I get it.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's so good because the CC is just like absolutely you know how good it is to stack CC of any kind, like the flash bombs, the traps, the flinches, tail cuts, you name it. Is if you can chain them together bit by bit, it just makes the whole fight go creation. And
Pretty cool.
I think the hammer and the lance actually are quoted as having the highest or the best clear times, as far as I've ever heard. So that's always been a selling point for me.
Well, awesome. Well, I think that covers our topics. Am I right?
Yeah. And
Okay. So
go into the community question.
yeah, we'll just do them in order how they are here. So I guess mine is first, and then we have Raytheon's, right? And then I guess this other one is yours, Rayamus.
Oh, okay.
The PS Gold thing.
I think I put both of those on there.
Did you
but
find
Rayamus
one
can do
then, Rayamus, or do you just want to use that one?
Totally forgot to find one. That was my bad.
Okay, we'll just use the second one that you got.
Is that all right with you, Radian?
Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I think we're at an hour 15, and with editing it'll be under, but I think 3 questions is enough for time. So, so the first one is by user Tonsbra, however you want to pronounce that, I guess. Sorry, we're probably going to butcher these pretty bad. But his question, or her, do you think that large-scale boss fights, Delamador, Jen, Darin, Morin, Gog, Leoshun, Akantor, all of those, will make a return in Monster Hunter World, considering there are types of monsters are usually in complete isolation from any other monsters, and emphasis is now on the ecosystem and how the monsters interact with each other. So, with the pseudo-open world, or at least open world within a map, I can see there being the large monsters like that. And the reason that is because typically in those maps, they are isolated to that big monster. You probably won't ever see a Gog in like the forest and hills or the jungle or anything like that. It's always in that our town arena, defend the base kind of thing. They've always been that way. And doesn't mean they can't change, but if they do have those large-scale boss fights, I think that doesn't really change so much. I think the question is, are we still going to get those? Not necessarily do they fit into the maps we've seen. We haven't seen a lot of worlds, but
we've seen very, very, very little of this game.
Yeah, and I think actually, was it like 3 a.m. tonight my time is when that thing is going, or 3 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know.
I'll be watching that, and tomorrow.
Yeah, 6:20.
Sure. Yeah.
That's all I know.
I do hope they add those into the game. I hope they're there because I enjoy them.
Yeah.
I think that they definitely will, and for a couple of reasons. From what I've heard, this game is being developed by the A-Team at Capcom, and it's been in development since 2013. This game has been in development for 4 years, since around the time, if not before, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate came out.
Right. They probably started right after.
Yeah, so I mean, this has their best team working on this game, and this is the next generation of Monster Hunter. In their words, this is the next big thing. It's got a global release. It has no boundaries between servers. This is the first time that they're making one game for the whole world. Well, there's no more localization. There's going to be different language options. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not going to be a Japanese exclusive game, and next year there's another one. Next year there's another one. This is 4 years in development. This is going to have everything. This has every weapon. This is going to have, and this is at this point it's speculation, but I think we're going to have just as many monsters as we've ever had. And we've got a bunch of new ones. Two of the 3 big monsters they've shown us are 2 brand new monsters.
Yeah.
Although they
I think
did
that this
keep
question
the great
question.
Yeah. I do want to add, it's kind of related to what we're saying here, but not exactly, is that a lot of people are like, well, why didn't they bring World to the Switch? Well, I mean, you kind of said it there. It's been development for 4 years. That's
before the Switch.
A lot longer before people had their hands on the Switch. And we're talking even developers. I think developers have only had like 2 years on it, 3 at most. So that's before they started working on Monster Hunters before they started working with the Switch. Doesn't mean we're going to get
and this
it.
question,
But yeah,
I think that this question's a great question, but I think at the same time it's kind of born out of that fear that World would be a spin-off.
mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be a spin-off. This is going to be the next core Monster Hunter game, and it's going to have every core Monster Hunter aspect to it, with some new additions, with some modifications. But there's going to be some blockbuster, spectacular fight with something gigantic at some point.
Yeah, I think it's possible that we could not get them because they are changing a lot too. We just don't know how much.
Yeah, all that's just my speculation. In my
Yeah.
belief.
Yeah. You know, I think on the whole note of, you know, the fears and all that, I like to think that, you know, this company, with Monster Hunter, I've been with it since the beginning. And I think that for every installment we've got, I think that they have proved to me time and time again that they make good decisions. Even when they, when the longsword came out, it was absolutely broken. The damage was equal to that of the greatsword, and it was like twice as fast. Next game, they fixed it.
Yep.
Then they they released underwater fighting. At first, we were all like, yeah, this is going to be sweet. It was awful. Everybody hates underwater fighting. And
haven't seen it since.
They took it out, and they add vertical maneuverability. It was amazing. And then they go from, they add the vertical maneuverability, and then when they brought Generations out and with the Hunter arts, I'm a big fan of the Hunter arts. I don't know how the community feels about that as a whole, but I said I'm a hammer bro, so with the hammer there's a lot of rolling, and then there's also a lot of charging. You pull into your charge a lot. And just a tiny change they made was when Generations came out, after a roll, rather than standing up completely out of the roll, if you go right into your charge, you kind of go into it from the roll almost. Really small change, smoothed it over like I couldn't even believe how much of a change it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're really, really in tune with what Monster Hunter is at the core. And I think they're going to stay true to that as they have over the years. They've given me no reason to doubt them so far, and I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I trust them.
Absolutely.
Next question?
Yep.
So the next one is from Name and Nami, and their question is, what could Capcom do to make less popular weapons, such as the Lance, Gun Lance, or Hunting Horn, shine more while preserving their signature gameplay? And in my opinion, I think that they don't have to really change much, but right now, again, the Greatsword is the poster weapon. It's on the cover of every game, and for that reason, I think almost everyone has played with the Greatsword. Not for that reason, but in part.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that I don't know how Monster Hunter World how it's going to work. Apparently there's voice acting, and what other changes might there be? Maybe there's one idea I had for Name and Nami's question is, maybe there's an NPC that you see in action, because I'm not sure we've ever really seen another Hunter NPC in action, whether it's an extended cutscene or in a fight or anything. Maybe we see a Hunter in action. Do you?
In a cutscene, yeah. In 4 Ultimate, the story mode, do you
remember what weapon they were using?
Lances. It was the guild.
See, I think that right there, that's what they need to do. Is with this new game and this new engine and how beautiful it's going to be, is show off those lesser used weapons and show how good they are. But a little more than that is, I think that these 3 weapons here, Lance, Gun Lance, and Hunting Horn, are all very support weapons. I know, Rayamis, you were saying that Lance is fastest clear times, and I believe that, but I think, especially coming from the original Monster Hunters, things like the Lance is great with a team, and the Gun Lance, they're slower weapons, they're more pokey instead of they're not as mobile. Hunting Horn is extremely slow, and it's all about these buffs that you're doing, and it takes time to I was a Hunting Horn main for about 20 hours of 4 Ultimate, and it's super slow, and you're spending half your time kind of building up these songs while trying to get hits in at the same time. And I think each of those weapons really do really great as part of a team. And so one thing that I think they could do is to give them a little bit more utility when they're playing as a solo player. I'm not sure how they could do that. I haven't thought that far ahead, but maybe making the Hunting Horn just a little bit faster, maybe change the mechanism for building up those tunes for the Hunting Horn. For the Lance, I know you've got like that charge attack, but maybe just another option for a little bit faster movement, just something that kind of gives it more utility as a solo player. And I think it'll open the door to a lot of people.
For the lance, I personally think the lance is spot on. It's one of my favorite weapons. It would be right behind hammer probably, and I think it's very well done. But definitely with the hunting horn and the gun lance, I feel that those are pretty low played, especially the hunting horn. I've always thought of the hunting horn as like a support weapon, so I would like to see it really take a lean towards like give it a little heavier buffs maybe.
Yeah.
Offense, make the offense more of a gimmick to the main idea of supporting your teammates.
Well,
yeah, and as a disclaimer, I'm not extremely experienced in those three weapons. Again, I did hunting horn for maybe 20 hours, but lance and gun lance I haven't touched a lot. And so I know there's a lot of listeners who are like, "You blasphemer, leave my lance alone."
Yeah,
for sure.
I was going to say the hunting horn does have a following of it being a great solo weapon for those that are good at it. But you're right, it's not the immediate most. That is a conception that people have, that it's just a support weapon. So, yeah, I get what you're saying there. Cool. I guess it's the second part of that same question then.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving on to the next part then.
Yep.
Okay, so what are your thoughts about the fact that we'll surely have to pay for multiplayer in Monster Hunter Worlds on console through PlayStation Plus or Xbox Gold? Except in the event that we don't have to. I think that's kind of the state of how multiplayer has gone anymore.
Right. If we had gotten
really...
double crossed, we would have to pay for online.
Yeah.
Would we have?
Yes.
Yeah, on the Switch, you know, early next year, online play is going to be paid. It's going to be significantly cheaper than PS Plus or Xbox Live Gold.
Yeah.
But
well, there you go, right there. That kind of just seals my point, is that it's really just the way the gaming industry is good. When's the last time you've got a split screen game that wasn't on Nintendo? You know, split screen itself is dying out because everybody has their own electronic nowadays, and in favor, in the opposite, like taking steps away from having your friends over to your house and having each of you split on a single screen. Now it's either you stay at your house, I'll stay at mine. We'll just get online together and chat. I think that's really the way we've been going with it.
Okay, cool.
And I think in addition to that, I don't know if maybe this is what Name and Nami actually meant, but maybe I think they did mean PS Plus, Xbox Live Gold, but in parallel to that, the idea of a subscription service, like an MMO monthly subscription that's separate from Xbox Live Gold and stuff. They clarified, maybe we don't have to because Final Fantasy 14 doesn't have to.
Yeah.
But even if you did for PC, for example, I don't think they would do that in the West. I think we had an article on the subreddit talking about how that might happen in Japan. And in my opinion, I feel like they're just kind of exploiting the ultra popularity of the series in Japan, because they absolutely could charge $15 a month, and I'm not sure a single Japanese player would be turned away from it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Maybe I'm not sure if this is a real correlation or not, but maybe with the paying, we can expect stronger servers.
Yeah, I think we absolutely could, but I think with this game, the way that they're marketing it, with this global release, like you were saying earlier, Fortuan, how so many people hadn't really heard of Monster Hunter before that announcement last week.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to put forth this huge game and this huge effort to bring it to the world all at once and then cut people's legs out from under them by charging $15 a month.
No.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, not where they're already struggling with, with a player base that's not nearly as expansive as Japan.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have to pay anything extra except for what maybe is PS Plus, Xbox Live Gold. And that's just because that's not even a Capcom decision. That's a Microsoft Sony decision.
Right. Yep. So I'm thinking we could do a third question, just because that was like a two-parter. So
yeah.
I'll go ahead.
I was looking for the thread, but
I found one. It's a really quick one. So
okay.
Matthew Mitchell asks us, there should be a debate between the host over which Poogie costume is the best. Now, I responded to this, and I said, if you don't like the watermelon Poogie, you're wrong.
No, fair enough. I am an absolute fan of the classic Poogie, the light blue and light lavender striped Poogie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I call it the pajama stripes.
Yeah, that one is my absolute favorite.
What do you think, Raytheon?
It's tough. I think I never really bothered to change it a whole lot, so I think I ended up with like the white and blue also.
Okay,
I always thought it was white. I never saw lavender. Maybe it's me.
you guys gotta try the watermelon. It's got its curly tail, ends in like a watermelon, like yellow flower. It's so cool.
It's definitely they're all pretty cute.
Yeah, because
Did you guys used to think way back in the day?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is
back
that
in
the
the day,
Poogie brought you luck?
Yes, the Poogie. Did it bring you luck? Did it really?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. It was a belief.
Yeah,
You know, when it worked, I was convinced, but when it didn't, I'm like, bad
it's
luck.
a placebo.
You know, so placebo, exactly.
We did have someone chime in and say that they like the Devil Joe costume, and I will say that is a really good one.
I have not even seen it. I'm gonna look it up right now.
It looks like a Devil Joe's
I
eating the
think
Poogie.
It feels like that was the origin of Pickle Bro.
Pickle Bro?
People call Devil Joe Pickle Bro because he looks like a giant pickle.
Right, but I don't think the Poogie started that. I think
I don't know. The Poogie costume looks more like a pickle than anything I've seen in Monster.
I think that. I don't know. Maybe. I've always thought it was just because Devil Joe himself looked like a pickle.
That before.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
a good
looking
one.
at it right now. That's awesome.
I don't have it. I need to figure out how you get that.
I don't remember. It's in Generations, I think. But
Yeah.
like I said, I lost my save, so
Yeah.
who knows? All right, folks, that's it for today. Thanks. Remember, hunters, to respect each other and happy hunting.
Happy hunting.
Happy hunting.